a test of faith, Elijah's stand against idolatry. This story is one of the most dramatic and powerful narratives in the Old Testament. It showcases the unwavering faith of Elijah, a prophet who stood alone against a multitude of false prophets and an entire nation that had turned away from God. Elijah's courage and determination to uphold the worship of the one true God is a lesson for all generations. The story of Elijah and the prophets of Baal is a powerful testament to the might of the one true God. Drought and despair, the consequences of straying from God. During the reign of King Ahab, the Israelites had turned away from God. They worshipped the false god Baal. Baal was believed to be the god of rain and fertility. Ahab had even married Jezebel, a wicked queen who encouraged Baal worship. As a result of their unfaithfulness, a severe drought ravaged the land. Crops withered, and the people suffered. The drought was a physical manifestation of the spiritual emptiness that had gripped the nation. The challenge, Elijah's bold confrontation with the prophets of Baal. This was a pivotal moment in the history of Israel, a dramatic showdown that would determine the spiritual direction of the nation. The stakes were incredibly high and the tension was palpable. The prophet Elijah, a man of God, appeared before King Ahab. Ahab, the king of Israel, had led his people astray by encouraging the worship of Baal, a false god. Elijah, with his unwavering faith, stood before the king, ready to deliver a message that would shake the very foundations of the kingdom. He announced that the drought was a consequence of their worship of Baal. For 3 long years the land had been parched, the skies had withheld their rain, and the people had suffered. This drought was not a mere coincidence, it was a divine judgment, a call to repentance. Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal to a contest on Mount Carmel. This was no ordinary contest, it was a test of divine power. The challenge was simple. Both Elijah and the prophets of Baal would prepare a sacrifice, but they would not set fire to it. Instead, they would call upon their respective gods to ignite the offering. He wanted to prove to the people that the Lord was the one true God. Elijah's challenge was audacious. He was not just confronting the prophets of Baal, he was challenging the very belief system that had taken root in the hearts of the people. He was calling them to witness a demonstration of divine power that would leave no room for doubt. He stood alone against 450 prophets of Baal and the might of the king and queen. The odds were overwhelmingly against him. Yet Elijah was not deterred. His faith was his strength, and he knew that the Lord would not abandon him in this crucial moment. Yet he was unwavering in his faith. With a heart full of conviction and eyes set on the heavens, Elijah prayed. He called upon the Lord to reveal his power and to turn the hearts of the people back to him. This was more than a contest. It was a call to return to the true worship of the one true God. A contest of gods, preparing the altars on Mount Carmel. Elijah instructed the prophets of Baal to prepare an altar and sacrifice a bull. They were to call on Baal to send fire from heaven to consume the offering. Elijah would do the same, calling on the name of the Lord. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, a visible, undeniable demonstration of the true God's power. Section 5. The Prophets of Baal's Futile Prayers, a display of empty rituals. The prophets of Baal began their rituals. They danced around their altar, chanting and shouting to Baal. They even cut themselves, hoping to appease their god. But there was no response, no fire, no answer. Their frantic efforts only highlighted the emptiness of their faith. Baal was a false god, powerless to act. Section 6. Elijah's Prayer, a humble plea to the one true God. As the day wore on, Elijah mocked the prophets of Baal. He challenged them to call louder, suggesting that perhaps Baal was sleeping. Finally, when the prophets of Baal gave up, Elijah took his turn. He rebuilt the altar of the Lord and prepared his sacrifice. Then Elijah prayed a simple, heartfelt prayer to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Section 7. Fire from Heaven, God's Miraculous Intervention. As Elijah finished praying, fire fell from heaven. It consumed the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and even the water. in the trench around the altar. The fire was a clear and undeniable sign that the Lord was God. The people were awestruck. They fell on their faces and cried out, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." The miracle was undeniable. Section 8, the people's response: repentance and renewed faith. After witnessing the power of the Lord, the people repented of their idolatry. They turned back to God with renewed faith. The prophets of Baal were seized and executed, signifying a turning point in Israel's spiritual journey. The fire from heaven had not only consumed the sacrifice, but also the doubts and fears that had gripped the nation. Section 9. The end of the drought. God's mercy and Elijah's legacy. In the ancient times, the land was stricken by a severe drought, a punishment for the people's waywardness and idolatry. The prophet Elijah, a man of unwavering faith, stood as a beacon of hope and a conduit of God's will. Following the display of God's power, the drought ended. Elijah's prayers were answered and the heavens opened up. The once dry and cracked earth began to transform, a testament to the divine intervention that was at play. Rain poured from the sky, restoring life to the parched land. The fields, which had lain barren for so long, began to drink in the life-giving water. Rivers that had dried up started to flow once more, bringing sustenance to both the land and its people. The return of rain symbolized God's mercy and forgiveness. It was a vivid reminder that despite the people's transgressions, God's love and compassion were boundless. The rainbow that arched over the valley was a sign of the renewed covenant between God and His people. The story of Elijah's victory over the prophets of Baal serves as a timeless reminder of the sovereignty of God. Elijah's unwavering faith and courage in the face of overwhelming odds demonstrated the power of true belief. The dramatic skies over the ancient ruins echoed the monumental events that had taken place. It teaches us that true faith has the power to overcome any obstacle. Just as Elijah stood firm against the storm of opposition, we too can find strength in our faith to face the challenges that come our way. The hiker on the mountain peak symbolizes the heights we can reach when we trust in a higher power and that God will always remain faithful to those who trust in Him. The sun breaking through the clouds and the peaceful countryside after the rain are symbols of hope and renewal. They remind us that no matter how dark the storm, God's light will always shine through, bringing peace and restoration to our lives.